Can you hold?
Make sure with the right time. I don't have email or CD. Like thanks before the RNC.
Host is not meeting yet. No, just right. Jimmy, go over here to get water.
Huh? Why?
Did you see me go over there? Because I don't want to drink that all water.
I think so. Is the liver clear? Honey, you need to come sit down.
I gotta make my coffee.
Alex, our class orientation.
Okay.
The other people.
You can make it creative.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Okay, did you do it? We
Do
don't
you want to do it?
makes sense. Because when the class starts, a lot of people. You go see.
Tell them that we're muted.
Hi, guys. So welcome to Aristotle's Ethics with yours truly, Timothy Gordon. I'm excited about this course, and it's probably, arguably, one of the most important courses you're ever going to take. I want to say from the outset, there's going to be lots of ways to interact, and it's going to be great. And it's so much better. I was just saying this to the church history course, so much better than lecture capture. And there are a lot of lecture captures online. That means pre-recorded stuff. This will be so much better. However, the class will go, the way it goes, because it's 50-minute weekly lectures, will be, generally speaking, we'll keep you all, or you should do it as a self kind of governing thing. Keep yourself muted, unless if you have an important content-based question, even though I'm going to talk about office hours weekly. I'm going to do one office hour when you can pop in. I'll be on Zoom and you can just ask me a quick question, tell me a joke, tell me a personal anecdote, for 30 seconds, boom, boom, boom. It's going to be a lot of people, I predict there, particularly Aristotle students, but it's cool even to just tell me a 10-second joke and then a 20-second question. I give you my answer and I go to the next person. That's mainly where we'll get the questions. However, if you have a question because we're studying the ethics, then you can also email me. But I really encourage you to save, if they can be saved, most of your questions for the office hour. That way we're doing some face-to-face and you get the benefits of it, not just being a lecture capture. With that said, we'll keep you muted most of the time during class. If you have a specific, like let's say, I say something inelegantly or vaguely, which will happen. It does happen. I promise so. And I love when people go unmute for 6 seconds and be like, hey, Gordon, you said that weird. What did this mean? Is this the same thing as when you say the council after Nicaea? Are you talking about Chalcedon? Or are you talking about Nicaea too? Or something like that. Just be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll correct. So quick clarification questions during class are usually more helpful than not. And that's the kind of question you don't want to save for either email or office hours. The whole class will be behooved by, interrupting me, just break in. But that generally speaking, when I taught class to high school students, the conscientious ones happened twice in a class period or something. So don't be too shy. If you think I said something wrong, if I said Nicaea when I should have been talking about the Council of Chalcedon, be like, oh, did you mean Nicaea? Just pop right in and that's good. Or something that's quick, that's not a straight clarification, just a content-based question 2 or 3 times per class. That usually helps everyone. And it would be better to do it then and there rather than to wait for office hours. But so office hours are the main I'd say sort of the target date for asking questions, and because it'll be Tuesdays at 6:15. Yeah, Tuesday at 6:15 is my office hour in this Zoom channel right here. Same bat time, same bat place, just right here. I'll just be kind of chilling out, taking people's questions, and it'll be actually the hour right before this course. So we'll do, 6:15 to about 7:15. I'll go grab a drink and then come back up 10 minutes later, and we will get to the course, which begins at 7:30 on September 10th. That'll be our first course. It'll always be on Thursdays. We'll break for Thanksgiving, obviously, and we'll break for Christmas for probably a couple weeks. I'll let you know as we go. But it's, man, this, with no exaggeration, I can honestly tell you, studying Aristotle's ethics, I was just talking to two of my ex-students who are now in very good universities as seniors. It's the most important course you'll ever take. You'll understand so much. Aristotle's the philosopher of common sense. It is easy stuff. It's the easiest book of Western literature to study, but it's the most important. Not that often in life are important subject matters also easy. And you get to say you studied a primary text philosophy course, meaning you're studying directly from the philosopher himself. It's just great stuff. It's not so easy that everyone can just read the ethics and get it all. It's much easier to just go through a lecture course like this, and it's just good stuff. We might go past Christmas with the ethics and only, in February, March, April, get on to philosophy of man. This is, I'd say, the more important course, but we'll be studying Plato and Aristotle in the spring as well. That's subject to change. So the course, the office hour will be same day, Tuesdays at 6:15. And then, no, I was mistaken. Then the course itself will be Thursdays at 7:30. So that's how it will roll. Oh, you know what? No, Tuesday, let's say 6. The office hour will be Tuesdays at 6. And then the Catholic Republic course is at 7. So I misspoke.
So they're asking, so Aristotle starts at 7 or 7:30 on Thursdays?
Aristotle starts at 7:30 on Thursdays. Church history starts at 5 p.m. on Thursdays. And the office hour is on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. The one office hour is Tuesdays at 6 p.m. So if some of you took the Catholic Republic course too, a few people took all three, then it'll go 6 p.m. office hour, 7 p.m. Catholic Republic course. And the courses are 50 minutes. Man, I mean, this and church history are the two most interesting courses I've ever taught in high school or college, hands down. And that's why I offered these two. And they're also the two most important for Catholics. If you're not Catholic, as most of you are, they're also the two most important courses for chauvinists of Western civilization. I mean, people who are proud that they are Westerners. The Catholic Church, as you learn in the church history course, Catholic Church built Western civilization, built Europe, which built Western civilization, and it built it on an Aristotelian basis. We study Aristotle's ethics here, but there's a lot of thematic overlap with the church history course. So I don't have to deal with the fact that you guys don't have the book, because this book can be gotten. I'm not picky about which translation you use either. It's not a grad course where that matters that much. You can take anyone, whether it's W.D. Ross, who's a great scholar, Joseph Owens. This is a Rackham translation I have in the Loeb Classic, which is a really cool book that's no longer printed. It's interlineated with the Greek on that side and the English on that side. Loeb Classics. The Greek Loeb Classics are all green, and they're about this size, and the Latin Loeb Classics in Latin are all red. They're cool. They're cool little collector's item, and I have Aristotle books in that. But you can get any Nicomachean Ethics anytime between now and our first class, September the 10th at 7:30. You can get any translation of Nicomachean Ethics. If you get the Penguins Classic, that's going to be W.D. Ross translating. It doesn't matter. Joseph Owens, Rackham, whoever. It really doesn't matter that much. there are a few different translations for some of the, restraint is sometimes called continence. When we get to book 6, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you all that in real time. It's just I'd say even more important than the church history course. I would say this is probably the most important school course you could ever take, and just interesting and fun. And Aristotle teaches you things about ethics, virtue ethics, that you already knew, but he shows you why. He shows you how the what I always call the moral math checks out, the moral calculus. And it's energizing to know, oh, that's why that's true. He's the philosopher of common sense. And he teaches you why common sense is common. So the class size is obviously sky high. I taught for a full semester high school students on Zoom last spring, fourth quarter. It works well. You don't have to be a techie. I'm not a techie. It's not hard at all. The only tech stuff I have to do on my end, if I'm going to switch slides or something, because it is kind of a slide lecture course. So don't worry about that. It's just easy, easy, easy. But the class size is large. And the only thing you really have to ever do is if you want to check the chat, you can go to the chat button. People will be chatting. And keep yourself muted generally. If you want to ask a question, just unmute and then mute again after you ask it, and I'll respond to you. Questions where you break in during lecture, just interrupt. Again, if it's an important question, it's about substance, not about the test or the structure of the course. Just break in, interrupt me. And I expect this will happen 2, 3, 4 times in a class. And it's always helpful, not unhelpful. So don't worry about that. But please do just try to keep yourself on mute the rest of the time, because with 160 students, there's no way at any given minute that if you were all unmuted, there wouldn't be tons of background noise. I mean, it comes through like this. If any of you, imagine that, 161 people in here say, and if any one of you have a small noise like that against your mic, it's as clear as my mic is now. You're no less clear than me. So that's why you keep yourself muted until you ask a question. Don't be intimidated by the class size. It's much better than a lecture capture course, which a lot of people do online. This is real. You'll get to interact with me, particularly in the office hour. If you need to interact with me during class, I'm there. So it's not twice as good as a lecture capture course. It's 20 times better. I'll say that so as not to overstate. If you have an email question that can't wait until Tuesday or Thursday, you can also ask me a content-based question before I start rolling. So you can basically ask me at the office hour, is what we're calling it, on Tuesday, or the hour of class on Thursday, as long as we can't have too many people piling those up. If it's really, really exigent, then just ask it as a clarification question as part of the material, and that'll work, But I will have to, if I have answer 2 in a row, I'll have to get going and get to the lecture. But you can either do it Tuesday, preferable Thursday, the actual day of the course. If you can't wait that long, or if it's about some administrative thing, then do send me an email at timothyjgordon@timothyjgordon.com. That will work great. But unlike my personal email, which I check, 5-6 times a day, I don't check it that much. I'm going to have to get in the habit of checking it semi-often, every 2 or 3 days. So at least I'll be able to correspond with you that way. But generally speaking, try to save your questions for the office hour. If it's burning a hole in your pocket, then ask me by email and you'll wait less time, 48 hours or whatever. But trust me, it'll work. It's interactive. The interaction, even if you're sitting there on mute for 98% of the time, it's a million times better at connecting your neurons and synapses in the brain than a lecture capture course. I did like bar review before I took the bar exam. I did lecture captures, and it's like your brain knows not to pay attention because it knows that's not a live person in front of you. This is not as good as the classroom, but almost as good. And you don't have to be a techie. You don't have to show yourself on camera. I won't even notice. I'm not looking at anyone. I'm just talking, trying to impart some Aristotle Thursday by Thursday. So I won't even notice. So obviously, yeah, if you're just listening and you temporarily can make yourself unmuted, that's great. And then if I were to look at you, it would be a blank screen. Like, who cares? Do whatever you want to do, whatever makes yourself comfortable. Regarding tests and maybe probably the occasional paper. I mean, paper and tests will kind of be the same thing here. I'll give you, this is particularly true for parents of high school students. It's also true for people that want to test themselves that are adults. I anticipate more of category A, but also category B. If you want the test, when it comes time, I'd give 3-4 tests throughout the entire 7-month course or whatever it is, 7.5-month course. And when it comes time, I'll just say, hey, email me if you want to take this test. I will send you the essay. Well, since it's an essay, I might just give it to everyone and be like, here are the 3 essay questions I'd be asking if this were a test. A week later or so, maybe half a week later after you've had time to take it, I'll give you grading rubrics. So you could give yourself an honest kind of grade as you go through. And if you're the parent of a high school student, the grading rubric will be 100% thorough. So you can easily grade your high school student. So it'll work easily. I more have this note for the church history course where there will be an objective component to the tests, A, B, C, D answers, things like that.
For people who are doing adult study, they might.
Yeah, for people who are doing adult study, you can also do that. Is that the
Yeah, just if they're not high school, if they're adults, they can decide to do the test or not.
Yeah, anybody really who's administering, who is taking this course, you can decide whether to take tests or not. And if you're you've enrolled your high school student, you can decide for them. But it's always in your court. And my tests are good. The essay tests are great. The rubrics are thorough, and you will, even if you don't know a lick of Aristotle and it's your high school student taking the course, you will be able to grade them quite accurately with the rubric I send you. There are Zoom features that I will sometimes be messing with here, like slides, where I'll change a slide. It's a PowerPoint slide. It's a very sharp PowerPoint presentation going through all 10 books of the Nicomachean Ethics that I've used for the better part of a decade, 6 years. I tooled these up. Actually, Steph helped me tool them up, make them prettified around the same time last spring that she did shortly after she prettified my church history slides. These are I knew even as a teacher, even before I got fired, that these 2 courses are money. I prepared notes. I'd modified them as I taught this course over the better part of a decade. I know they're like the 2 most interesting, most important courses I'd ever taught. And so I thought it would behoove me to, again, before June 3rd, when I was fired, have a PowerPoint slideshow that was really sharp on hand. And so I did that. So I will use, what I'm mainly known as a teacher, instructor, is a lecturer. You're going to learn everything you need to know if you don't want to bother about the tests. And let's even say, I'm going to skip reading book 2 of the ethics. I want to read the other stuff, but I'm going to kind of time out. I have a busy couple of weeks. That's fine, because I go through it so thoroughly, you will learn the Nicomachean Ethics, even if you didn't read per se. Now, you learn a little bit more by reading thoroughly, but this is the European professor style of lecture where I'm essentially giving you a critical outline, critical meaning where I'll be discussing critically the points that people argue about in Aristotle, but it's like an outline. So that was the cool thing about studying at the Greg, is the professors, they say, you can read this book if you want. It's a primary source. And I really do say, by suggestion, you ought to read Aristotle because it's not hard. It's easy.
People are asking how much reading per week.
The reading per week will be very, very moderate, will be very, very bite-sized, usually 8 to 12 pages in Aristotle. And again, if you start out and you read 5 pages out of the 8 pages, this is basically like a honors high school, 100 level college course, except it's actually good and not taught by a communist. And with, I think, some distinctly Catholic insights. But it's not like a college course insofar as if you read, 6 pages instead of your 8 that week, you're not going to be out of luck. You're going to just, okay, I'll just get the end by lecture. And, you'll have a nice slideshow. Each slide is usually up there. It's a nice, pretty kind of graphic and a couple textual things. That's usually to jog my memory. I have all the stuff up here, and it is a lecture course. And the lectures will all be captured. So if you do miss a course, it's not as good as live, but you can go get that lecture capture, which will be stored to the cloud. But you don't have to worry about the Zoom features like screen share and whiteboard. Really, the slides look good, and I'm, with no false humility, I'm really fluid at these lectures because I've done them so well and so long. I mean, that they really come across as, I think, condensing a fair amount of material in here in a way that's just, it's super important stuff, but I can make it super accessible and easy to understand. I think you're going to see right from the beginning. So all classes will be recorded. Don't worry if you miss one. We will make available starting, from the first class, the course that you missed. It'll be stored somewhere. I'll tell you where you can go find it at office hours, whatever. Just remember, the ethics course is 7:30 on Thursdays. If you're in the church history course as well, that's 5 o'clock on Thursdays. I said it wrong during the church history orientation. And the Catholic Republic course is Tuesdays at 7. And before that Tuesdays at 7 course will be an hour at 6. I think I said 6:15 before. It'll be 6, really. It's going to be great. That's all I can really promise you is the devil's in the details. We'll see as we get going. We'll change. Just keep it on mute until you really need to ask a question. If you do, unmute it, remute it, and then it's going to be pretty slides with a lecturer on Aristotle that I argue is second to none myself. And you're going to learn more in this class, more in the next 4 months, and more important stuff than, I don't know, maybe ever before in life. There's a reason that Dante Alighieri calls Aristotle, he's talking about ethics, the master of all those who know. That's why St. Thomas Aquinas calls him the philosopher, capital P. You need to know Aristotle's ethics for a happy life. Eudaimonia, that's the goal. It's such important stuff. Yeah. Was there one last question? Okay. So, if anyone had a question or two now, then we could take it. But what time do we have here?
We have it's 7:21 right now, so you've got a few minutes.
Yeah, we're over time. So don't just trust me. Get in there for the first couple lectures. No assignment before the first class. The first class is lecture and then reading. That's how I go. Professors, I think it's pretentious and counterproductive. Professors that say reading the night before then lecture, it's not any good. They've done studies on this neurologically. It does. You just get like 40% of the material. And it gives you homework before you've even sat a day in the class. Just, we'll come there, I'll give you the lecture, then you go read it. It makes 10 times more sense than it does if you do it in reverse order. So
somebody's asking any preparatory material that would be a good primer?
There are some good commentaries on the ethics that I will talk about the first day. Generally speaking, the secondary material is, if we wanted to take it up a notch, I would have required you to get either the Owens book or an action theory book. But that I don't think I'm going to require it. So I don't want to confuse people now. If you want, after say 2 classes, whoever asked me that, break in and I'll give you a good commentary on the ethics. I treat it like my lectures are the commentary for now. But if they're insufficient, just ask me after 2 classes. First things first, I like to get people in the primary source material because it's so easy with Aristotle.
Somebody's asking, should they take notes on the book as you go?
Sure. I mean, take notes on the book, but the notes should look like they will be, like I say, if you read after you've been lectured to, your notes will make 10 times more sense to you than if you try to read before the lectures. I mean, do what you want to do. And yeah, my books are all interlineated and marked up, but my non-lobes, I keep these as cherry as I can. But I mean, do you, right? But yeah, read after, that's the main thing, and then take notes in the book. That works. But you're going to know what he's talking about after lecture. Some of the words he uses and all that, you might not know what he's talking about if you go before lecture. So just,
it says they'll be reading what you lectured on after you lectured on it.
yes, you'll be reading the reading lectured on after the lecture. Pretentious professors at university go the opposite way. Neurological studies have obliterated that. It's just a pretension thing. Having an assignment that's due for the first day of class is lame. And you know, same thing after each test. Just no. After a test, when we're starting up, I'll give the introductory lecture and I'll say, now you go read it. It'll make a million times more sense when you hear Aristotle say it after I've said it in lecture. So I will see all of you on the 10th at 7:30 Central CST. I'll send an email out whether I do an office hour that Tuesday, the 8th, but I haven't decided that yet. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll plan on doing an office hour Tuesday, the 8th, because people will all kind of be ready to go at that point. I'm telling you, you can hold me to my word here. You're just going to learn a lot and you're going to be having fun as you do so, which is a big promise, but we're dealing with the most important primary text in Western philosophy and one of the easiest. So it's a promise I can make. And I'm good at lecturing it. So see you all on the 10th or on the 8th. If you have a question before the class, it's going to be great. And we're doing the Catholic Republic orientation in
like 5 minutes.
yes. Yeah, in like 5 minutes. Okay, peace. Have a good one. And I'll see you guys soon.
Thank
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. It'll be good to meet y'all. Peace.